In the year 1587, more than 30 years before the Pilgrims set foot on Plymouth Rock, a group of English settlers arrived on the shores of what is now North Carolina. They came with hope, ambition, and a royal charter. They were to establish a permanent English presence in the New World. Instead, they would become one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. Their settlement was known as Roanoke, and by 1590, every last man, woman, and child had vanished. Without battle, without graves, and without witnesses. Only a single word carved into a tree remained behind. A single word that has echoed across centuries. Croatoan. The origins of the Roanoke colony can be traced back to the imperial ambitions of Queen Elizabeth I. England, jealous of Spain's conquests and the gold flowing from the Americas, wanted its own foothold in the New World. Sir Walter Raleigh was granted a charter to explore and colonize lands in North America. His first attempt in 1585, led by Ralph Lane, ended in disaster. Poor relations with the indigenous population, scarce food, and internal strife forced the settlers to abandon the outpost after less than a year. But Raleigh would try again. In 1587, a second expedition was launched under the leadership of John White, a seasoned artist and cartographer. This time, the goal was not just exploration, it was colonization. The party included 117 settlers, men, women, and children. Among them was White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, who would give birth to the first English child born on American soil, Virginia Dare. When the settlers arrived at Roanoke Island, they found the remains of the first failed colony. The abandoned fort was still there, overgrown and silent. Undeterred, they repaired what they could and began their lives again. But within weeks, the challenges returned. The land was unfamiliar. The food was limited. Relations with native tribes were tense and uncertain. John White, fearing for the colony's survival, agreed to return to England to request aid and reinforcements. It would be a short trip, he promised. He would return with supplies before winter. But England was on the brink of war. The Spanish Armada was preparing to invade. All English ships were seized for national defense. John White would not return to Roanoke for 3 long years. When he finally arrived in 1590, it was not to cheers or relief. It was to silence. The settlement was deserted. No bodies, no signs of violence. No smoke from chimneys or footprints in the sand. The buildings had been dismantled, not destroyed. And carved into a wooden post was that single word, Croatoan. There was no sign of a struggle, no bones, no graves, no blood, just emptiness. The only clue suggested that the colonists may have relocated to Croatoan Island, now known as Hatteras Island, about 50 miles south. White wanted to investigate further, but storms and logistical problems forced him to abandon the search. He returned to England, never to see his daughter, granddaughter, or any of the colonists again. So what happened to the lost colony? Over the centuries, countless theories have emerged. Some are plausible, others are outlandish, but none can be proven beyond doubt. One possibility is assimilation. The colonists, low on food and with no support, may have turned to local tribes for help. The word Croatoan referred not just to an island, but also to a friendly indigenous group. Some later European settlers reported encountering Native Americans with gray eyes and European features. Perhaps the settlers were absorbed, their English identity fading into native life over time. Another theory is more tragic. The settlers may have been killed by hostile tribes, by disease or by starvation. Yet no graves have ever been found. No mass burial sites, no skeletal remains tied conclusively to the colony. Then there are darker and more conspiratorial explanations. Some believe the colony was captured by the Spanish, who had scouts and spies active in the region, and who saw English settlers as a threat to their control of the New World. Others suggest the colony collapsed from within, perhaps due to betrayal or civil unrest. More recently, archaeological digs on Hatteras Island have uncovered fragments that may connect the Roanoke settlers to the Croatoans. These include pieces of English pottery, a broken sword hilt, and other European items dated to the late 1500s. But without written records or solid proof, the mystery remains. To make things stranger, even modern scientific attempts to trace the colonists have come up short. In recent years, DNA testing has been used to examine descendants of both early settlers and Native American tribes in the region. Researchers hope to find a genetic link, some trace of English lineage in the bloodlines of modern communities. But so far, the results have been inconclusive. Either the settlers vanished so completely their bloodline was erased, or we're simply not looking in the right place. Adding to the mystery are the strange stories passed down through oral tradition. Local tribes spoke of pale-skinned spirits who emerged from the woods, carrying strange tools and speaking a foreign tongue. Others told of massacres, of ghost towns deep in the swamps, and of warnings from the ancestors to never approach certain lands. These weren't just stories, they were warnings etched into generations. There's also the case of the Dare Stones, a set of engraved rocks allegedly left behind by Eleanor Dare herself, detailing the fate of the colony. Though many of these stones have been dismissed as forgeries, the first one found in the 1930s still baffles historians. It speaks of sickness, death, and a desperate plea for help. Whether authentic or not, its existence only adds fuel to the fire. Roanoke was not just lost, it dissolved into something larger, a myth, a cautionary tale, and perhaps even a cover-up. What exactly was out there on that coast in the late 1500s? And why has no one, even after centuries of searching, found definitive answers? Even the word Croatoan has taken on an almost supernatural quality. It has surfaced again and again in strange historical contexts. The author Edgar Allan Poe reportedly whispered it shortly before his death. It was found carved into the bedpost of the vanished pilot Amelia Earhart. It appears in the stories of Stephen King and episodes of supernatural television. The lost colony of Roanoke has become more than just a historical mystery. It is a legend, a ghost story, a symbol of ambition swallowed by the unknown. But perhaps what makes the Roanoke mystery so powerful is not just that the colony disappeared, but that it did so without a sound. No screams, no survivors, no explanation. Only a single word carved by human hands into wood. Croatoan, a name, a direction, or a final warning. In the centuries that followed, more colonies would rise. Jamestown, Plymouth, Williamsburg. But Roanoke remained a scar, an early attempt at empire that was erased before it began. Even today, historians, archaeologists, and storytellers return to that lost patch of coastal land, still searching for bones, scrolls, or something buried beneath the earth. Searching for anything that might tell us what happened to the 117 men, women, and children who simply vanished. Until they find it, we are left with one question. What if Roanoke was never meant to survive? What if the colony was wiped, not by nature, not by accident, but on purpose? And if so, who erased them and why? Do not forget to subscribe. Want to learn more about the topics we cover? Consider reading our ebooks from the link in the description.